My House of Horrors Chapter 121 to 130. Chapter 121, Sleepwalking. Translator. Lonely Tree Editor. Millman 97. Wang Hyaming was possessed by something inside the mental hospital, and the thing followed him out when he exited the hospital. Both parties were constantly fighting over the control of his body. Wang Hyaming decided to die rather than compromise. The man's weird death and the actions that happened at midnight supported Chen Ge's speculation. After Wang Hyaming's death, the thing he carried out with him from the mental hospital probably stayed back in this room. When his body was carried away, there were plenty of police and spectators, so the monster definitely did not show itself. When night came, room 303 was sealed, and the monster had no chance to go look for a new target. Normally speaking, the monster should have been trapped inside this room, but it seems like some contract has been formed between the monster and the young man in room 302 through an unknown method. Having learned the lesson from Wang Hyaming, the monster did not attempt a hostile takeover of the man's body. Both parties are in a symbiotic relationship. Chen Ge looked at the sparrows on the floor. The blood has soaked through most of the fabric, something that is not possible with just these sparrows. The contract was probably made a long time ago. He was reminded of the words he heard the young man say. He once yelled, "You guys need to stop forcing me," and the sentence could reveal a lot of information. First, he was forced to do something against his will. Judging from the situation in room 303, the monster had probably forced him to bring it a living sacrifice. A few sparrows would not be able to satisfy the monster, so its demand would increase to like stray cats, stray dogs, or even human. The second point was the young man's verbiage. During the argument, he used the term, "you guys," plural, so he was probably facing more than one monster. This confused Chen Ge. Just what kind of creature had Wang Hyaming led out of the mental hospital? After replacing everything, Chen Ge walked toward the window. Due to the issue of the angle, the young man from room 302 did not know that he had been found out. He saw Chen Ge's shadow walk toward the window, and he quickly retreated into his room. Ads by PubFuture. One more individual to look out for tonight. Chen Ge climbed out of the window, and his hands gripped the windowsill. As he was about to turn, the corner of his eye swept the bathroom of room 303. Behind the half-open door stood a long shadow with two different faces. "Who's there?" interrobang. Chen Ge's hands almost slipped. When he focused his eyes, the thing had disappeared. There was nothing in the bathroom, but a shadow seemed to flash across the mirror. Hanging off the window, it was quite dangerous without safety devices. Chen Ge did not stay and quickly moved back into room 304. "Did you find anything?" Dr. Gao asked out of politeness. "Look at this." Chen Ge retrieved the key from his pocket. "Dr. Gao, are there any locks at your hospital that require a key like this?" Dr. Gao accepted the key from Chen Ge and turned it in his hand. The key was slightly larger than a normal key. It doesn't look like the key to the office or the surgery room. "I'm not so sure." Chen Ge put the key away since he could not get an answer from Dr. Gao. He would give it a try when he was ready to enter the third sick hall. "That's all you discovered? A key?" Dr. Gao ended the call. He had not known what to expect when Chen Ge climbed out the window, but he definitely had not expected him to return with a key. "Don't underestimate this key, it might be the key to what is happening." Chen Ge glanced into the bedroom. "Has Men Nan fallen asleep?" "I don't suggest for him to sleep in room 304, he's afraid of this environment. After he falls asleep here, his mind might give him additional pressure, thus increasing the possibility of a nightmare." Dr. Gao was worried about Men Nan. "Since we have confirmed his illness was due to childhood trauma, we should focus on that and provide the necessary counseling. Things are not as simple as you think," Chen Ge explained to Dr. Gao patiently. The doctor had not been exposed to the other world, so his way of thinking was restricted. If Men Nan is suffering mainly because of his childhood trauma, then why did his illness surface only after he moved into this apartment? Dr. Gao had no answer to that question. The childhood trauma is part of the manifestation of the problem that lies in this apartment. Something here has seriously triggered him, causing him to fall ill, that is the real source. Chen Ge tried his best to explain the situation without referencing the other world too much. Ads by PubFuture. Dr. Gao nodded. Even though he still had reservations with regards to Chen Ge's methods, but it was undeniable that the man had cured Wang Xin. Standing from a scientist's standpoint, he wanted to know more about Chen Ge's various ideas and methods, but from the doctor's standpoint, he merely wished for his patients to be cured. Chen Ge could see the hesitation in Dr. Gao's face, and he knew it would be hard to convince the doctor. Even if we move him away, the nightmare will still happen. Haven't you tried that already? In that case, why not we just let him fall asleep here? The two of us will be by his side, and when he shows any sign of pain, we will wake him up immediately. Psychological therapy was a long and arduous process, and after some consideration, Dr. Gao finally agreed. Following some more discussion, they entered the bedroom, and to their surprise, Men Nan was already on the bed. The young man was exhausted. With his chin on the pillow, he had fallen asleep leaning against the bed. After getting Men Nan into the bed, Chen Ge wanted to examine Men Nan's forehead and neck but was stopped by Dr. Gao. Let him sleep. Okay. Chen Ge pulled 2 chairs over. We'll do this in rounds. One will stay up until midnight, and the other will take over. Whenever there's something wrong, we'll wake him up immediately. You should go and rest for now. Leave this to me. Dr. Gao had Chen Ge sleep on the living room sofa while he stayed in the bedroom to look after Men Nan. Before he arrived, Chen Ge had spent the whole morning working inside the haunted house and the afternoon making the mannequin heads, so he was tired. He switched his phone to vibrate mode and set the alarm for midnight. Lying on the sofa, with Xiao Xiao beside him, he soon fell asleep. In his dream, he felt a vibration coming from his palm. Chen Ge sat up on the sofa. He looked at the phone. It was midnight. He entered the bedroom and saw the deep frown on Dr. Gao's face. Before he said anything, Dr. Gao made a shush motion at him. The two stood beside the bed quietly. After about 5 minutes, Men Nan, who was sleeping in bed, suddenly straightened his arms underneath his body. It seemed like he was trying to sit up. He failed after a few attempts, and the arms flapped weakly beside him like everything that happened earlier was just a dream. Sleepwalking. Chen Ge whispered to Dr. Gao. The latter shook his head and pointed at Men Nan's eyes. Chen Ge followed Dr. Gao's finger and realized that Men Nan's eyes were open, but only a quarter of his pupils could be seen. The rest was all white. Welcome to Fanfic Audiobook, your go-to place for immersive audiobooks. If you enjoy the content, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories. Chapter 122, Wake Him Up. Translator. Lonely Tree Editor. Milman 97. Men Nan honestly looked quite scary, like he was possessed. After about 10 minutes, his arms reached forward once more to try to push himself up. After several failures, Men Nan finally managed to sit up. His eyes were fully white, and Men Nan sat on the bed, his head slightly lowered. Dr. Gao, has he woken up? Chen Ge and Dr. Gao were standing about 1 meter away from Men Nan, but the young man did not seem to notice them as his eyes stared forward. His pupils were rolled back to his head, so they could only see white of his eyes. Probably not. Dr. Gao signaled for Chen Ge to take a step back. Both of them leaned against the wall to avoid running into Men Nan. Then, is this sleepwalking? This was the first time Chen Ge had seen something so weird as well. Sleepwalking is a type of common sleep impediment, but if it was just pure sleepwalking, his pupils would not have rolled back so far. The two communicated softly. Men Nan sat on the bed for a while, and without warning, he slowly stood up. Should we wake him? Their original plan had been to wake Men Nan when he did anything weird, and this was already past the definition of something weird. No, if we wake him now, we might break his already fragile mind. Dr. Gao paused before adding, I've been watching Men Nan's face and following the changes to his expression. Even if we are forced to wake him, we should wait until there's a drastic change in his emotions. The two exited the bedroom and stood outside for observation. Men Nan stood beside his bed for a few minutes before slowly turning to face the living room. His head was still lowered, and his eyes were open, but they were mostly white. In such a condition, he moved his legs to walk out of the bedroom. Ads by PubFuture. Chen Ge nudged Dr. Gao lightly. What is he doing now? I've treated a child who sleepwalked before. He suffered from slight OCD, and every night he fell asleep, he would spend more than half an hour fixing the mattress to make sure the 4 edges lined up perfectly. After he fell asleep, he would sleepwalk in the middle of the night to again fix the edges before going back to sleep. Dr. Gao looked at Men Nan, and his face was full of worry. That kind of sleepwalking that eventually returned to bed is not so bad. We're most afraid of sleepwalkers who attempt things that are unexpected. After Men Nan exited the bedroom, He did not stop or hesitate and head for the bathroom directly. The wooden door was pushed open, and without turning, he walked toward the mirror. The faucet was turned on, and the bathroom was soon filled with the sound of rushing water. Is he planning to wash his hair? Chen Ge looked at Dr. Gao, who looked back at him with equal shock. Don't look at me, this is the first time I've seen this as well. The sound of water intensified, and Chen Ge as well as Dr. Gao rushed to the bathroom. Men Nan, who stood before the sink, was slowly bending down. His head lowered, and they both caught a glimpse of Men Nan's upside-down face. Even then, his pupils were nowhere to be seen. His head touched the water and Men Nan's expression finally changed. His face twitched slightly like he had seen something incredibly scary. Chen Ge quivered under his gaze. He turned back to look, but there was nothing inside the room. Has he spotted something in his dream? Reality and the dream are connected. Men Nan had once mentioned the man entered the room from outside and stood beside him. His hair was wet, and Men Nan masterfully grabbed the hair shampoo and squirted a generous amount on his head. He scrubbed his scalp mechanically, but his eyes were fixed in a certain direction. The shampoo slid down his hair, and he instinctively wanted to close his eyes when the shampoo reached his eyes. At that moment, various negative emotions like fear and panic all surfaced at once. Quick! Wake him up! The moment Dr. Gao shouted this command, Men Nan reached out to strangle himself. The veins on his arms popped as he tried to snap his own neck. His body lost balance, and he collapsed to the floor, the shampoo and water splashing everywhere. Ads by PubFuture. Wake up, Men Nan. Dr. Gao and Chen Ge both tried to pry his arms away, but no matter how loud they yelled, the young man did not respond. He continued to strangle himself and tried to use his head to knock against the sink. Detain him. Dr. Gao had probably faced similar patients before. He expertly asked Chen Ge to hold Men Nan's upper body while he whipped out his belt to tie Men Nan's wrists together. Men Nan, this is Dr. Gao. After his hands were tied, Dr. Gao held Men Nan's head with his palm on his forehead to stop the young man from knocking his head into the wall. It's all right now, it's all right now. Dr. Gao's voice was gentle and kind, it had a trustworthy quality to it, but it did not seem to be at all effective on Men Nan. The young man's condition did not improve but only got worse. He opened his jaws to bite at the people around him, and when that failed, he bit on his tongue and soon blood seeped out of his lips. Get me the towel. Before Dr. Gao shouted that command, Chen Ge had already stuck the towel into Men Nan's mouth. By then, Men Nan should have woken up already, but he had not. His pupils kept moving upward, and Chen Ge was suddenly reminded of something. He had seen the young man do the same thing before at the park. He's looking upwards. The thing is on his head. Chen Ge tried to grab above Men Nan's hair, but there was nothing there. Let's get him onto the bed first. Dr. Gao also did not know what had happened in Men Nan's dream. Both he and Chen Ge cooperated to haul Men Nan off the floor. His hands were bound, and a towel was stuck in his mouth, but Men Nan still tried his best to hurt himself. His head wiggled about violently. Chen Ge was afraid that he might knock into the mirror, so he walked forward to steady his head, but when he raised his head to look into the mirror, something shocking was reflecting in it. Chen Ge's pupils narrowed, and a man was lying on Men Nan's back in the mirror. The man was as thin as twig, but his face was uneven on both sides, like a line was split down the middle and two faces were sewn together to form one. The man was strangling Men Nan's neck and attempting to enter his body, but another force from within Men Nan was stopping the monster, causing it to slow down. Both parties were fighting over Men Nan's body, and that was the main source of his pain. The sight in the mirror was scary, but Dr. Gao could not see it. Now, only Chen Ge could help Men Nan. When I left room 303, I saw a shadow escaping into the mirror. This monster is probably of the same type as the mirror monster that I've dealt with before, so breaking the mirror should be able to hurt it somewhat. Chen Ge did not discuss this with Dr. Gao. He took out his mallet and swung it at the mirror. The mirror pieces shot everywhere, and the sound shattered the night's silence. The whole building had probably heard that. As the mirror crumbled, Men Nan, who was trapped in the nightmare, finally showed signs of waking up. He screamed, and his pupils slowly returned to normal. At the same time, a shadow glided across the floor as if it was trying to escape. Chen Ge pushed Men Nan toward Dr. Gao, and he jumped up holding the mallet. By the time he exited the bathroom, the shadow had already reached the front door. Chen Ge picked up Xiao Xiao, who had gotten a little misshapen from being his sleep buddy, and threw her at the shadow. Chapter 123, Escape. Translator. Lonely Tree Editor. Millman 97. The ragdoll stained with fake blood arced through the air before knocking into the shadow. Weirdly enough, when the formless shadow was hit, it stopped at the door, the doll biting on its arm. Well done. Chen Ge aimed his flashlight at the shadow. Under the bright light, the shadow started to twist, and its color dimmed. Without the refuge of the mirror, the monster was weaker than Chen Ge had expected. It abandoned part of its body and escaped into room 302. The parts that the monster abandoned soon disappeared. It was unclear whether it had dissolved into thin air or been eaten by Xiao Xiao. Eating these things appears to be beneficial to Xiao Xiao. Chen Ge placed Xiao Xiao into his pocket and used the mallet to bang on room 302's door lock. Come out. The old steel door shook, shedding dust and rust. Even the frame itself was shaking. The commotion was so loud that all the nearby tenants were alerted. The door to room 301 opened a sliver. What is all this commotion about? The middle-aged man roared with the beer bottle in his hand, but he did not step out completely from his room. The door to room 302 was suddenly pulled open from within, and the young man living in it held a cleaver in his hand and slashed at Chen Ge madly. The mirror monster has entered his body. The corridor was narrow, so there was only so much room for Chen Ge to maneuver. Chen Ge took a step back and realized that the door to the middle-aged man's room was open. He fell into it and slammed the door shut. The sound of a cleaver chopping on the door was eerie. The young man had completely lost his sanity, his eyes were filled with streaks of blood. His face was in a mad grimace, and he said no words, like all his energy was being channeled into cleaving the door of room 301. It felt like he was planning to chop Chen Ge into pieces. Then again, it was understandable. It had planned this for weeks, and finally, it had almost gotten into Men Nan's body but was stopped by Chen Ge at the last minute. On top of that, it had lost parts of its body in the struggle. The corridor was filled with the sound of the cleaver slashing on the steel door. Ads by PubFuture. What's going on? The middle-aged man inside the room was stunned beyond belief. His calves weakened, and he collapsed onto the shoe racks. Help me. The room door was not locked, and the young man could have burst through at any moment. I'll call the police. The middle-aged man did not dare go near the door. He placed the bottle on the table and hurriedly went looking for the phone. In his hurry, he knocked over the empty bottles, and they clattered noisily. I said come help me with the door. As the sound of the cleaver reverberated through the halls, the rooms lit up one after another, and many tenants leaned their heads out the door. In room 304, after Dr. Gao deposited Men Nan on the living room sofa, he heard Chen Ge's cries for help. He ran out of the room with a stool in his hand. The young man from room 302 had gone berserk, his focus was fully on Chen Ge. Dr. Gao made use of this opportunity to sneak up on him from behind. When he was 1 meter away from the man, he raised the stool to knock at the upper part of the young man's spine. Dr. Gao's target was probably the head, but for some reason, his aim was off. The young man lost his balance and staggered forward, his body knocking into the door. Gripping the cleaver, his neck twisted unnaturally around, and the young man glared at Dr. Gao with bloodshot eyes. A roar bubbled from his throat. As the young man planned to turn to attack Dr. Gao, Chen Ge saw this opportunity and kicked the door open. The door slammed into the man, and without giving him the chance to recover, Chen Ge picked up a bottle from the floor and swung it at the young man's head. The bottle shattered, and blood flowed down the man's head. Chen Ge charged forward and knocked into the young man, holding him down on the floor. Dr. Gao also ran forward to grab the cleaver away from the young man. The young man tried to resist until the other tenants also came out to help detain him. It was then that he finally gave up on his resistance. With his cheek pressed into the cement floor, the young man's eyes focused on Chen Ge, like he was trying to memorize Chen Ge's features. 3 minutes later, the young man's pupils rolled backwards, and he fell unconscious. At the same time, the young man's shadow that was reflected on the wall suddenly moved and dashed down the stairs. Many people present saw that, but before they could react, the shadow had disappeared into the night. Ads by PubFuture. What was that? Dr. Gao's eyes widened. Many strange things had happened that night. I'm not so sure. The vengeful eyes that the young man had shot Chen Ge before he fainted were very familiar. It reminded him of the haunted house's mirror monster. Could it be that both of them came from the same world inside the mirror? Chen Ge climbed up from the floor and was about to give chase when he stopped at the staircase. The landlady blocked the staircase with a stern face. Has this person been taken over by the monster? Chen Ge took several steps back. Then again, he was the cause of the problems that had happened that night at her apartment, so he was feeling rather unsettled. What are you guys up to so late at night? The landlady walked up to the third floor, and a few of the elder tenants followed behind her. Just as Chen Ge was wondering what to say, the middle-aged man in room 301 ran out with his phone. He had been hiding in his room until then. Sis, it feels like brother-in-law has returned, the man whispered into the landlady's ear. Xiaodu in room 302 used the cleaver and attacked people indiscriminately. It was completely the same as brother-in-law's situation. When he said that, the tenants who had gathered around started to disperse. A few ran back into their rooms and locked the door tight. Wasn't everything going just fine? The landlady looked at the chaos in the third-floor corridor. She had her brother carry the young man to the hospital while she moved to talk to Chen Ge and Dr. Gao. We were merely defending ourselves. The kid from room 302 almost killed me. I know. The landlady paused before saying directly, I still need to rent this place. Making this more complicated than it is will not be good for business, so how about we let this be? I will pay the child's medical bills, and we will not get the police involved. The child is still young, and I don't want to ruin his future. Hearing the landlady, Chen Ge realized that she knew a thing or two about the secret in room 303 as well as the reason behind room 302's young man's madness. After balancing the pros and cons, Chen Ge realized there was no benefit to pressing this further. After all, he had completed the Black Phone's mission. Chen Ge discussed this with Dr. Gao, and both of them agreed with the landlady. After the landlady left, Dr. Gao returned to room 304 to look after Men Nan while Chen Ge waited in the living room. He still had plenty of questions left for the young man. Chapter 124, Possible Red Spectre. Translator. Lonely Tree Editor. Milman 97. 1 hour later, the middle-aged man came back to Haiming Apartments with the young man from room 302. The young man had a bandage on his head, and his pupils were still quite unfocused. You're finally home. Chen Ge walked out from room 304, his hand still holding the mallet. Don't worry, I'm not going to hurt you, I just want to ask you some questions. The young man's eyes darted about evasively before opening the door to his room. Come in then. There was a thick stench in room 302. Even the middle-aged man whose room was far from tidy had his hand over his nose. How long has it been since you cleaned this place? Has some food gone sour or something? Chen Ge was confused. The room looked tidy, and the young man kept up his appearances. He did not look like a sleazy type of person. The things that have happened to me for the past 2 months felt like a dream. The young man walked to his bed holding his head. He pulled out a black plastic bag from underneath it. It was filled with the carcasses of small animals. It's true, like a nightmare that I could not wake up from. Chen Ge glanced into the bag before his gaze fell back on the young man. Now that your nightmare is over, you can tell us the things that you've been hiding. The young man dropped the bag aside and began with apology. When I moved into this room 3 months ago, the landlady said that if I didn't feel comfortable or ran into something weird, I could move out freely. That first night itself I had a nightmare. I dreamed about a leaking window. In the dream, I went to close it and saw a man standing inside the room next door. Ads by PubFuture. Initially, I didn't pay it much attention, but after this dream repeated itself for a few times, one day, I suddenly realized that the man who was supposed to be in the room next door had entered my room. I tried to resist, but I couldn't do anything. However, the man didn't hurt me. He told me that he merely wanted some help from me. After that dream, my focus was lost for the whole morning. In the end, I decided to spend a night over at a friend's place, but the man seemed to have attached himself to me. This time, in my dream, he appeared directly beside my bed. The man told me that there was no way I could escape. He said that as long as I helped him, he would stop bothering me. I believed what he said, so I started following his demands to capture some living small animals and threw them into room 303. They were alive when I dropped them in, but when I went to take a look the next morning, the animals were all dead. There were no visible wounds on their bodies, so I had no idea what had killed them. The more he continued, the more afraid the young man became. I wanted to escape from the man in my dream, but his appetite grew. Initially, he just wanted a sparrow or a rat, but 1 week later, he asked me to leave him stray dogs, and the last time, he asked me to lure a living person into room 303 after midnight. When I refused, he started to force me, threatening to kill me in my dream. I was at my wit's end. The young man's eyes were red and he lowered his head. I told my friends about the dream, and the few of us entered room 303 late at night, but nothing happened that night. Then, they stopped believing me, thinking I had lost my mind. I had no one to turn to, and the man's presence became more solid. Even in the morning, I could feel him standing beside him, watching me. The young man's hands moved to grip the bandage on his head. At the time, I only wanted to get rid of him, so I did try to lure someone into room 303, but it was too difficult. When he felt better, he continued. After a few days, I accidentally saw an ad at school asking for a place to rent, and I guess you know what happens next. Due to personal reasons, Men Nan did not want to stay at the school dormitory, and due to his limited budget, I recommended Haiming apartments to him. So, you are the reason Men Nan moved into room 304. Chen Ge did not expect that would be the case. I did remind him of the danger, but like me, he paid it no heed. After saying everything on his mind, the young man felt better. All of that is in the past, so we will not pursue any charges, but we will need to wait for Men Nan to wake up first. Chen Ge took out the rusted key from his pocket. Now I have a few questions for you. I need you to answer them honestly. If you don't know, then just tell me, don't make stuff up. Ads by PubFuture. Okay. Have you ever seen the man's face in your dream? Seen it once, the young man admitted after a long hesitation. He has two faces, like two personalities sewn together, and they communicate and argue with each other. Other than giving you their demands, did they talk about anything else? This was the best opportunity to know about the other world. The thing they did the most was argue with each other. There was this one time where one of the faces angrily said that if not for the fear of the Red Spectre, he would rather have died than share an existence with trash. Red Spectre. Chen Ge frowned at the familiar term. He took out the black phone and clicked onto the affection page. Under Xiao Xiao's name, it read Baleful Spectre, but under Zhang Ya, it specifically read Red Spectre. It might not have seemed important, but because of these two words, Zhang Ya had her own personal page on the black phone. Chen Ge fell into deep thought. The creature that had followed Wang Haiming out of the third sick hall knew of the Red Spectre, so there was a high chance that a Red Spectre resided in the third sick hall. A spectre on the same level as Zhang Ya. The thought brought a headache to Chen Ge. The first mirror monster that he had encountered was a toy for Zhang Ya. Therefore, a normal ghost was powerless before the Red Spectre. He sighed before signaling for the young man to continue. Other than the Red Spectre, I realized that there were a few weaknesses to them. I planned to use those when things got too serious. The young man sat on the bed, not at all minding the stench from inside the bag. The monster rarely appeared during periods other than midnight. It was afraid of light, noisy environments, and most importantly, it seemed weirdly afraid of cats. Afraid of cats? Chen Ge was curious. Yes, the man in my dream asked me to prepare many living animals, but cats were the only exception, so I believe it is afraid of cats. The young man had a point, but it was ultimately just speculation. If possible, Chen Ge did not want to be the first one to try it out. Perhaps I can test it out somehow back at the haunted house. The young man did not dare to speak since Chen Ge did not comment. However, the eyes of the middle-aged man, listening to their conversation, were as round as the moon. Chapter 125, Take Your Mannequins Away. Translator. Lonely Tree Editor. Milman 97. Before doing the trial mission for the third sick hall, perhaps I should place a stray cat inside Muyong High School scenario to test the theory. If it works, then it'll be an additional way to deal with creatures from the other side. Even with this information alone, Chen Ge felt that his journey that day had been worth it. Glancing at the young man, he passed the rusted key to him. Have you seen this key before? I have. The young man nodded. Every sunrise, I would return to room 303 to clean the animal carcasses, and there was this one time when I found this key in one of the items of clothing. Did the man in dream mention anything related to this key? Like a special door or room? The young man thought about it before saying, when they were talking to themselves this one time, I believe they mentioned something related to a key. What was it? One of the faces said that he had left something important behind in the third room and that the pathway hidden behind the cupboard wasn't locked. They shouldn't have left through the front door, that way, they wouldn't have been exposed. The young man had a vague recollection of the memory. After all, he had heard all this in his dream. The third room. Chen Ge was reminded of the paper note left behind by his parents. The third room in the third sick hall. Could they have been talking about the same place? If they were, then this information is invaluable. The pathway behind the cupboard is not locked. This can be my escape route when necessary. Ads by PubFuture. Chen Ge could not tell whether the young man was lying or not. He maintained the same expression while he memorized all the information. After asking a few more questions, making sure there was nothing else he could have known, Chen Ge exited room 302 and returned to room 304. How is Men Nan doing? He's asleep, but he's running a fever. I'll bring him to the hospital tomorrow and try to reach out to his family. Dr. Gao sat beside the bed. You'd better go and rest. I'll stay here and look over him. I've placed the doll on the sofa. There are some bandages under the table, so remember to take care of your wounds. Okay. Chen Ge realized that Dr. Gao was a nice person who knew how to take care of others. He walked to the sofa and saw Xiao Xiao that was lying on her back with her stomach poking out like she was unable to move from eating too much. This little thing. Chen Ge set the alarm for 7 o'clock. Hugging Xiao Xiao, he soon fell asleep. For some reason, he had a restless sleep that night. He kept repeating the same dream, and in the dream, he was trapped inside a maze-like building and was being chased by something. There was imminent danger. He held a key in his hands and tried it on all the doors, but none of them worked. Wake up. Chen Ge's eyes flew open because someone was shaking him. He saw Dr. Gao standing beside the sofa holding a weak-looking Men Nan. Chen Ge looked out the window. The sun was coming up. It was about 6 a.m. Men Nan's temperature is still running high. We need to take him to the hospital. This room feels weird, so I think we'd better leave together. Dr. Gao had not slept, so his condition was not so good, and Men Nan was even worse. It seemed like he could collapse at any moment. Okay. Chen Ge shoved the stuff into his bag and reached out to hold Men Nan's other arm. Be careful. Thank you for your help last night. When they exited room 304, Men Nan suddenly turned to Chen Ge to say and repeated, "Thank you." "You're welcome," Chen Ge answered reflexively, but then he realized that Men Nan's tone and mannerism seemed weirdly feminine. When he turned back to look, Men Nan had lowered his head. When they arrived at the hospital and ensured that there was nothing dangerous about Men Nan's situation, Chen Ge left. Sitting in the taxi, Chen Ge took out the black phone. He had received the message. He had completed the mission. Ads by PubFuture. The player reached the mission venue on time, found the victim's cause of illness, and managed to survive until sunrise. 1-star trial mission completed. A new scenario has been unlocked. Player can manipulate the props inside the set freely using the interface available on the phone. Trial mission completion rate more than 90%. Unlock this mission's hidden item, self-perceptive key. Self-perceptive key, 13 malice points. Mental patients are often lacking in the power of self-perception. They are unable to tell their current mental health condition, causing them to think they are fine, thus refusing treatment. When similar symptoms appear in you, this key can help you once. The hidden item for this mission is the key I found. Chen Ge placed the rusted key in his palm. What does it mean by saying similar symptoms appear in me? Is it telling me indirectly that I have a mental illness? When Chen Ge reached New Century Park, it was around 7 p.m. The difficulty of 1-star missions is not that hard. I don't feel as tired as I normally would. It was still early, so he decided to pay the mannequin workshop a visit. The mannequin heads that he had made should have been ready. Chen Ge sent a message to the boss, and to his surprise, the reply came back surprisingly soon. The boss asked for Chen Ge to come immediately. Did something happen? Perhaps it is because I did not follow the dollmaker's talent fully. After all, I was missing some tools then. This was the first time Chen Ge had used that skill. He was afraid of an accident, so he rushed over immediately. When he arrived, he saw the boss standing alone outside the glass door, holding the key, but he appeared to be afraid to walk in. "You're already here. Then, why won't you go in?" Chen Ge walked toward the man. If some outsiders saw this, they would probably think that he was the boss. The fat on the boss's face jiggled as he reached out to point inside the workshop. "Can I cancel your order?" "No way, you've already accepted my down payment." Chen Ge looked through the glass into the workshop. When his eyes swept across the counter where he had left yesterday's half-finished products, his breath caught in his throat. The 24 detached heads with weirdly human-like expressions were all turned to stare right at the entrance. Chen Ge almost grabbed his mallet to swing at the door. This scene was indeed impactful. No wonder the boss did not dare go in alone. They do look realistic. Chen Ge patted the boss's shoulder. Open the door, will you? After finishing the bodies, I'll leave. You sure are humble. 24 heads, each with different expressions, and all turned toward the door, but realistic is all you have to say. When I came early in the morning, I almost lost my soul being scared by them. The boss said with a pout. I came early to check on your filler and leakage, but, sigh. I'll probably be reminded of this scene every time I open the door. Now I'll need to rent the place no matter what. Chapter 126. A Brave Idea. Translator. Lonely Tree Editor. Millman 97. When Chen Ge left, the paint job on the fake heads had not dried yet, so they had been unfinished products. They did not look so scary then. After opening the glass room, Chen Ge and the boss walked over to the counter. Look at this quality. Residing in a haunted house is a waste of your talent. The boss followed behind Chen Ge. He picked up a female student's head from the table. Initially, he had been afraid, but after he got used to it, he was slowly attracted by the bodiless heads. They were incredibly human-like. The girl's eyes seemed to be filled with emotions, and the normal dullness of a mannequin head was absent. You are indeed the best dollmaker I've seen. The boss studied the girl's face closely for a full minute before moving his gaze away. There seemed to be something on his mind. After some hesitation, he placed the girl's head back where it had been and tapped the busily working Chen Ge lightly on his shoulder. Brother, I came so early today also because I wish to discuss something with you. Brother. The boss's sudden change in attitude and term of endearment unsettled Chen Ge. Tell me, if I can help, I will. Chen Ge was working on the design of the mannequin body. It's a deal that will benefit both of us. The boss picked out a name card from his pocket and gave it to Chen Ge. We should keep in contact with each other. Ads by PubFuture. Qian Guigan. Chen Ge did not know what the boss was up to. He was suddenly so friendly. After Chen Ge accepted the name card, the boss said mysteriously, before this, my main focus was the design of mannequins for shops and parks, but with the advancement in technology, especially 3D imaging, the demand for mannequins has decreased. To keep the shop afloat, I've been considering changing to another field, but the shape and form of this industry has been fixed. A sudden or drastic change in field will be too difficult. It's going to be difficult in any field. My suggestion is for you to stick to what you know in case you lose even your capital. Chen Ge used clay to form a student's body and was wiping away the surface with a wet sponge. The force underneath his fingers was just right. The surface that he touched came alive like actual skin, smooth and slightly glossy. He did not pay much attention to Boss Qian. He just wanted to finish the job as soon as possible and deliver them to the haunted house. That's what I thought before meeting you, but after meeting you, it's as if I've seen a ray of light through the mist. You have given me a brilliant direction. Boss Qian stood beside Chen Ge. Looking at the mannequin heads with different expressions, he suddenly said, I have a brave idea. Mind getting me the 16th carving knife? Hey, do you mind paying some attention in Terabang? If this is successful, perhaps our monthly income will be greater than what you earn in a whole year from the haunted house. Boss Qian slammed his palms on the table and looked at Chen Ge seriously. The talk of money made Chen Ge stop working. I'm not one to be swayed by money, but I am interested in your idea. Small dolls won't get a high price, and large mannequins no longer have the market, so I plan to go into the high-end, personalized market. Boss Qian picked up Chen Ge's mannequin head carefully. This is the first time I've seen such a realistic doll, and you're using a lesser quality material. If we get higher quality materials, does this mean you can make mannequins that are no different from actual humans? Theoretically, I suppose so, Chen Ge answered, conveniently skipping over the fact that he could make an actual living doll provided he had enough materials. That talent will be our road to riches. Boss Qian took out his phone to look for some doll pictures. These adult sex dolls sold for 8,000 plus on the internet despite their rough quality. If we can provide to scale dolls with perfect skin and features, the asking price will be over 5 digits. I have done the necessary research. The market is untapped and will remain that way for the next few years. Well, your idea definitely is brave. Chen Ge shook his head and continued to focus on his clay body. Just imagine the income. With your speed, we can easily make 20 of those in 3 days, that's 200 in a month. The market hasn't seen a mannequin of your quality before, so the initial price can be set at 15,000. Even with the most expensive materials, we'll gain 10,000 in profit. That's 2 million in a month. Why are you still so hung up over the haunted house? Boss Qian had expected a far more enthusiastic response from Chen Ge. Ads by PubFuture. I will not do anything illegal. Making dolls according to the pictures provided by clients is a violation of privacy. Chen Ge knew that he was using the dollmaker's talent to make these mannequins. There were certain latent dangers, and he did not want to wake up to headlines like, "Sex dolls found responsible for young man's death." Why are you so stubborn in Tarabang? Boss Qian started to berate Chen Ge. Every single one is a lonely island, even married couples will have arguments, but dolls are different. In fact, I believe that many will choose to spend their lives with dolls if given the chance. There would be so much less pressure in life. No matter who it is, if you dump your problems on them, they will get annoyed, but a doll won't. Making dolls for these lonely souls hurts no one. In fact, you will be helping them seek a safe harbor in this lonely world. I feel like you're in the wrong field. You should go sell insurance instead. Chen Ge lowered his head to focus on the clay body. The world was not as innocent as the boss made it out to be. If his mannequins were mass-produced, things could get out of control, and he would definitely be involved. If there's a brave idea, then we have to give it a try. How about you make 2 dolls today? I will go around to promote them. If that doesn't work, then forget I said anything. There were those pictures on Boss Qian's phone, so obviously, he had come prepared. Boss Qian, have you considered this situation? You're in bed with a doll, but after you fall asleep, the doll slowly opens its eyes. Why would a doll open its eyes? If you don't believe me, you can come experience it yourself at my haunted house. The mannequins I design are different from normal mannequins, and I mean more than their appearances. Chen Ge did not go into further detail. The boss felt like a nice person, just a little forward in his thinking. After listening to Chen Ge, Boss Qian looked at the fake heads on the counter, and he shivered. However, he did not give up. When you have thought it out, give me a call. Chen Ge finished the clay body and repeated the steps from yesterday. At 9 a.m., Chen Ge placed all the fake heads into 3 large paper boxes and called a taxi to drive them to New Century Park. The mannequin bodies will be ready tonight. This means that I can officially open Muyong High School for public visitation tomorrow morning. Chapter 127, Equipment Upgrade. Translator. Lonely Tree Editor. Milman 97. The taxi stopped at the park entrance and Chen Ge called Shu Wan to help him haul the boxes into the haunted house. Boss, what's inside these? They are so heavy. Mannequin heads. Chen Ge did not explain further. Don't open them if you're easily scared. Understood. After placing the boxes, Chen Ge had Shu Wan go to the dressing room to prepare herself while he stood at the entrance to sell tickets. With the opening of Muyong High School scenario tomorrow, I'll need to solve the issue of workers. If worst comes to worst, I can ask Director Luo to lend me a park worker to act as the ticket seller. A man who looked about 30 interrupted Chen Ge's thoughts. Mr. Chen, I've finally found you. Chen Ge was rarely addressed this way. He looked at the person. The man was wearing a casual suit and holding a black suitcase. He had a refreshing short hairstyle, a face full of smiles, and shining white teeth. You were looking for me. I haven't missed a single one of your live streams, they're too good. The man started with praise, but Chen Ge knew the quality of his live streams. His content was unique, but due to a lack of good recording devices, the live stream experience could still be improved. Ads by PubFuture. You're too kind. Chen Ge still had no idea what the man was there for. You're a viewer. I'm your loyal fan. Ever since your first video entered the Midnight Popular Ranking, I have been following you. Later, when Qin Guang copied your content, it was me who posted your video on the forum, exposing his plagiarism. The man said that he was Chen Ge's loyal fan, but he was very calm, and the smile on his face was a professional smile. It felt more like he was in a negotiation than meeting his idol. Thank you. Chen Ge did not believe him fully, but the man did not seem hostile, at least he knew right from wrong. Since you're a fan, I'll give you a 50% discount for the ticket. I don't want to disturb your business, why not let the visitors behind me go in first? He stepped aside to allow the people behind him to walk into the haunted house. When Chen Ge had dealt with the visitors and took a breather, the man moved forward to continue. I hear the people from Qin Guang's studio came to cause you trouble, but you managed to teach them a lesson. Those are just rumors. Qin Guang's people have no moral bottom line. They purposely sent two mental patients, and after they acted up inside the haunted house, they pretended to be the victims to slander my name. How shameless. Chen Ge hissed through gritted teeth. When the man heard him, his expression shifted. He added a smile but said, I also think they were trying to frame you. It was just a visit to a haunted house, why would they end up in the hospital? They should have come up with a better excuse. They ended up in the hospital. Yes, they also promised that they would take revenge by sealing up all your recommendation channels but were stopped by another studio. The man looked at Chen Ge with a wide grin like a fox waving his tail. After all, the platform belongs to everyone, not just Qin Guang. By then, Chen Ge had understood everything already. This man before him had come from this other studio. It looked like they had some bad history with Qin Guang's studio, or else they would not have sided with Chen Ge when they realized Qin Guang was conducting plagiarism. The viewership and recommendation channels for a platform were limited. If Qin Guang dominated all of them, it would cause a slow decline for the other creators. You're here to seek collaboration with me, right? How shall I refer to you? Chen Ge studied the suitcase in the man's hand, imagining it to be filled with money. Actually, I'm also a host. You can call me Lu Dao. Lu Dao, Chen Ge nodded. Then, what kind collaboration do you propose? Ads by PubFuture. Lately, supernatural live streaming has achieved surprising popularity, and naturally, we want a part of it as well, but our studio doesn't have the right candidate to spearhead such a project. Even if we focus all our resources on a selected host, the popularity won't be higher than Qin Guang's. Even though there is much to be desired about Qin Guang's work ethic, his live streams are interesting and funny, and the man is charismatic. So, you came to find me. I don't think a normal guy like myself has more charisma than Qin Guang. That's where you're wrong. I've seen your live stream. Perhaps you don't notice this, but your live streams are different from most. Lu Dao dropped his smile and turned serious. With just one glance, people will normally be able to tell the livestream is fake, and this includes Qin Guang's livestream. It has the name of a supernatural livestream, but it was merely listening to the host make up stories. However, yours is different. The atmosphere and anxiety were pitched throughout the livestream like life-threatening danger was around every corner. The viewers would experience fear alongside you, and just with that point alone, I'm already mightily impressed. That's because it's all real. Chen Ge felt like even if he told the truth, Lu Dao would not have believed him. Perhaps I am a good actor. You're too humble. That feeling of dancing between life and death, that is something I haven't seen in professional actors. Lu Dao seemed to admire Chen Ge greatly. I feel like only your livestream has a chance of fighting Qin Guang. If you promise to cooperate with us, we will fight tooth and nail to help you gain more resources. Then what am I supposed to do? Contribution and reward were give and take. Chen Ge knew this well. We will find you locations that look scary and abandoned and set up the scene there. We will also design some scary features beforehand. You'll only need to conduct your livestream there and push some advertisement in your livestream room for our studio. Lu Dao was afraid that Chen Ge might reject him, and he pulled out a file from the black suitcase. The set needs to be prepared and the script as well. We will conduct a supernatural livestream every 10 days, and this aligns with Qin Guang's studio's schedule. Here, you can take a look at our selected set locations and the rundown for the script. These people are too conservative with their choices. Some of the sets are just next to a residential area, just a move of the camera, and it'll be exposed. You think they're not suitable? Don't worry, I promise you that they're completely safe. All the set locations will be inspected beforehand, and during your livestream, we will assign an auto camera to follow you. You think these can beat Qin Guang? Chen Ge sighed sadly. He returned the file to Lu Dao. None of these sets are interesting, and the scripts are too predictable. How about I give you my recommendation? What is it? Have you heard of the third sick hall? Chen Ge turned on his phone and entered the name. Soon, many creepy, cruel, and insane headlines appeared on screen. I plan to go here for my next livestream. Lu Dao saw the articles that appeared on screen. The unfiltered pictures caused the man's Adam's apple to wiggle. He wiped the sweat off his forehead before saying, "You sure? Isn't this pushing it a bit too far?" Chapter 128, Stray Cat. Translator. Lonely Tree Editor. Milman 97. Disappearance of the hospital director and patients. An anonymous letter claims that there are bodies left in the hospital. A changing bloody message, moaning from a closed room, who opened the locked doors at midnight? What have they seen to cause them to go crazy in one night? Who is the patient, and who is the doctor? Screaming, cutting, sewing, the twisting of human nature, the hospital where the sun will never rise. Lu Dao only glanced at the headlines, but his heart started to race, and his breathing became uneven. Are you sure about this? Before he arrived, he had worried about Chen Ge rejecting him due to salary or location safety, so he had prepared many different proposals. He had come up with many different negotiation tactics, but after talking to Chen Ge, he realized that things were already out of his control from the beginning. The haunted house boss not only did not worry about safety but also complained about their locations being too fake. He even had selected an abandoned hospital that sounded creepy from the internet searches alone. Is this person insane? Lu Dao grumbled internally as the smile froze on his face. Mr. Chen, the people from our studio might not be brave enough to enter the location that you selected. If you think the script is not suitable, we can still edit it. It's alright. Chen Ge waved him off. Thank you for your understanding. Shall we discuss the script? I don't need people to follow me, I can enter it alone. Have you misunderstood me in Terabang? Lu Dao was covered in cold sweat. He formed his thoughts clearly before asking, do you really plan to livestream at this type of location alone at midnight? Is there a problem? Looking at Chen Ge, Lu Dao felt like the proposals that he had spent days and nights preparing had all gone to waste. No, of course not. Please take a look at the contract. If there's any request, do name them. Ads by PubFuture. He pulled out a temporary contract from the suitcase. Chen Ge skimmed through it. The contract was lax. This was their first cooperation, so it was just a trial, testing the waters. Chen Ge needed to promote Lu Dao's studio in his livestream room, and in return, they would fight for more recommendations and exposure from the platform. I've seen all of your livestreams, the content is perfect, but the equipment is not that professional. Lu Dao opened the black suitcase again when Chen Ge was reading the contract. He placed it between them. This is the live streaming equipment that we can lend you, namely a GoPro carry-on waterproof camera. It is normally used for shooting extreme sports like air gliding or deep water diving. This beside it is the anti-slip chest bracket camera and arm camera. Then, these are wireless earphones. When you're ready for the live stream, we will have professionals help you retransmit the footage, and you can look at the live stream through your own cell phone. Lu Dao introduced the items in the suitcase one by one. I suggest you go and familiarize yourself with the equipment as soon as you can. Qin Guang's next livestream has not been announced yet, but it will definitely be within the next 3 days. We will set our livestream at the same time as him, and the result will be fully dependent on this crossfire. After all, this was going to be a battle with the most popular host on the platform, and Lu Dao had no confidence that they would win, so the contract he provided was temporary. It would be void after this first livestream. Avoiding risk was the nature of a business. Chen Ge understood that. After signing the contract, Chen Ge accepted the suitcase from Lu Dao. When I confirm Qin Guang's livestream schedule, I'll contact you. Hopefully you'll be ready then. Lu Dao extended his hand toward Chen Ge. Happy cooperation, and be careful. After sending Lu Dao off, Chen Ge walked to the staff break room with the suitcase before returning to the front door to sell tickets. The sky suddenly started to darken, and at around 2 p.m., it started to rain. The rain chased away the few visitors the park had. Looking at the deserted New Century Park, Chen Ge did not feel so good. The number of visitors who came to the haunted house was slowly increasing, but the overall number of park visitor was dropping. If New Century Park was forced to close, his haunted house would be affected as well. The number of scenarios is not enough to use the haunted house to support the entire haunted house. Currently, New Century Park was still surviving because there was no competition in Zhujiang, but after the new park was built, the visitors would abandon New Century Park. Boss, what's on your mind? Shu Wan came out with umbrella and stood beside Chen Ge. Nothing really. Chen Ge turned to look at Shu Wan. Thank you for your work today, you can go home now. I need to go to the workshop to finish off the mannequins anyway. After cleaning the place, Chen Ge locked the haunted house and walked to the mannequin workshop. Before he reached the workshop, Chen Ge could see that Boss Qian was squatting by the roadside talking to the hawker stall cook. Why are you standing outside? Boss Qian saw that it was Chen Ge and stood up with some difficulty. Brother, have you considered the high-end doll offer? I have a feeling you'll lead a revolution in the industry. Not interested. Chen Ge entered the workshop to focus on his work. Just think about it. You could be the next king of adult sex dolls. All the mannequins were done by 9:30 p.m. The 24 headless mannequins stood in the workshop, creating a harrowing scene. They're so realistic, it's like art. Ads by PubFuture. I'll leave them for the night, and I'll come to take them tomorrow morning. Chen Ge patted Boss Qian on his shoulder. Watch only from afar, and please don't touch them. After a few more words, Chen Ge left with his umbrella. He came out from the workshop, and the rain was still pouring. How am I supposed to drag 24 mannequins to the park? I should call Uncle Shu for help tomorrow. He opened the umbrella and walked down the street. The shops on both sides of the road were packing up their stuff. Several shop owners were calling their children home, and they were planning to close already. Chen Ge did not notice it until he passed a small alleyway, and he heard a child crying. He turned to look and saw several young boys tossing rocks and empty bottles toward a specific corner. One of the boys had scratched his finger, and as he cried, he picked up debris from the ground to toss it in the corner. The boss of the lottery ticket shop next door came out to yell, "Jia Ming, Jia Bao, stop playing, it's time to go home." "Dad, little brother was scratched by a stray cat." One of the boys screamed. "Scratched by a cat? Let me see." The man rushed into the alley. After some hesitation, Chen Ge followed. When the man saw the wound on his boy's finger, he hugged the crying boy and kept consoling him. When he saw his father, the boy cried even louder. "Don't cry, Daddy will help you take revenge. Is it this cat that scratched you?" He picked up a nearby brick and tossed it at the poor creature. The brick landed on flesh, and a whimper could be heard. Chen Ge used his calf to block the brick. He stood in the middle of the alley looking at a broken paper box left in the corner. Inside the box was a white cat whose body was covered with bleeding wounds. The cat was fierce, its claws and teeth showing. Even though blood was flowing down its head, it still refused to leave the paper box. Why won't it run away? Chen Ge took one step forward and saw that there were 4 kittens inside the box, but all of them were no longer breathing. The chaos created by the boys littered the area around the box. However, inside the paper box was clean. "What's the matter with you?" The man grabbed a broom and pushed Chen Ge aside. "Move it." His calf was still hurting. When the man pushed him, it felt like something had come over Chen Ge. He grabbed the man's arm and toppled him over. With his hand on the man's head, he pressed his face into the muddy ground. His pupils narrowed to become incredibly scary. It felt like it was a gaze from beyond the grave. Yin-yang vision. The man tried to struggle initially, but when he saw Chen Ge's face, a chill covered his entire body, even his teeth were chattering. "Chill, we can talk this out." The man tossed the broom aside. With his face pressed into the ground, he said in a shaking voice, "There are surveillance cameras all over the area. A stray cat is not worth it. I'll leave immediately." Chen Ge released his grip on the man as his gaze slowly returned to normal. "Jia Ming, Jia Bao." The man jogged off in a hurry, and the boys quickly followed after him. Peace returned to the back alley. Chen Ge glanced at the broken paper box in the corner. He was about to walk closer when the injured white car arced its body and lowered its ears. Its eyes narrowed into slits as if it was about to attack. It was afraid and cautious of any living humans. Chen Ge slowly bent down. He did not do anything that might make the cat feel threatened. Instead, he opened the umbrella and placed it over the paper box. Chapter 129, The Cat That Can See Them. Translator. Lonely Tree Editor. Millman 97. Dark clouds hung low in the sky, and the rain drenched Chen Ge's jacket. He squatted before the cat, his mind a mess. Earlier, he had seen fear on the man's face. Normally, shouldn't the party with the weapon have resisted instead of surrendering so easily? There was such a change to the boss's attitude, and this made Chen Ge wonder, what had he seen? When I gripped him earlier, there was a chill radiating from the eye, that should be the yin-yang vision in effect. The description the black phone provided on the yin-yang vision was very vague, and Zhangya had even blown half of the mirror monster's body into his eyes. Yin-yang vision seemed to have evolved, but what was the effect of the evolution? Chen Ge could not really tell for sure. I acted almost instinctually earlier. It's probably caused by the pent-up stress from all the things that have happened recently. Ever since obtaining the black phone, Chen Ge had not had a good rest. He spent his days either completing daily missions or the more dangerous trial missions. However, They came with rewards. At least, number of visitors and reviews for the haunted house had increased. After staying for a while longer in the alley, Chen Ge realized the white cat still refused to let him get near. He did not force it. He found a nearby spot to hide from the rain and planned to leave after the rain receded. He waited for 10 minutes, but the rain still showed no sign of slowing down. Chen Ge used the flashlight in his phone to shine at the corner. In the darkened alley, the ground had started to get flooded. The paper box was soaked, and a huge hole was forming at the bottom. Chen Ge walked forward to take a look. The injured white cat could not hold on any longer, it was already lying down alongside the 4 kittens whose bodies had already gone cold. I can't just leave it to die, can I? Chen Ge removed his jacket to wrap it around the cats and ran to catch a cab to rush to the nearest pet store. 10 minutes later, Chen Ge arrived at his destination, and a girl in uniform was locking up the place. Ads by PubFuture. Wait a minute. Chen Ge did not even open his umbrella and rushed directly toward the girl. I'm sorry, but we're closed. Come back tomorrow. The woman saw Chen Ge, and she took an involuntary step back to maintain a safe distance. This cat won't be able to wait until tomorrow. Money is not a problem, please save it. The rain had soaked Chen Ge's clothes, and he looked rather worse for wear. The woman looked at Chen Ge's arms. The white cat was covered with mud, and a long wound ran down its face. A stray cat. Yes, stray cats are naturally wild and will often lash out at humans. It seems like these injuries were human-made, probably because it had hurt someone. Are you sure you want to save it? Yes, Chen Ge confirmed. A few boys probably killed the kittens, and the cat kept its vigil beside the kittens despite the barrage of broken bottles and bricks. It was horrible. If you insist on saving it, come in. The woman unlocked the door and accepted the jacket from Chen Ge. The 4 kittens cannot be saved, but if you want to keep this cat, I suggest you bury the kittens beside your house. Okay. Chen Ge glanced at the woman's name tag. She was the owner of the pet store, her name was Zhao Wen. She started nursing the white cat's wound after they entered the store. Chen Ge sat in the store, staring at the cats and dogs in the cages. Weirdly enough, after Chen Ge entered the pet store, all the animals became curiously quiet. Is it something on me? Or is it because of Zhang Ya? Chen Ge wandered to a nearby cage. The cat inside it was huddled in the corner, curled up in a ball. With this comparison, Chen Ge was even more impressed by the white cat. When he first approached the white cat, it did not show fear but gnashed its teeth, looking like it was trying to fight to the death with Chen Ge. This stray cat might bring me some surprises. The young man in Hai Ming Apartments room 302 had told Chen Ge that the weakness of the mirror monster was cats, so this was one of the reasons Chen Ge had decided to keep the white cat. Ads by PubFuture. Zhao Wen came out hugging the white cat when it was around 11 p.m. She also held a small basket in her hands, inside it lay the 4 kittens. I'm quite surprised at how pretty the cat is. Unfortunately, the gash on its face cannot be removed or it would be prettier. Chen Ge could not even recognize the snow-white cat Zhao Wen was holding. Its fur was soft and luscious. However, the key feature of the cat was its eyes, red and blue. Why would the original owner abandon such a pretty cat? Chen Ge thought the cat was pretty as well. I'm not trying to scare you, but it is not a good practice to adopt stray cats, especially one like this who looks like it came from a good line and background. The original owner abandoned it probably because of some taboo or something bad that happened. Zhao Wen passed the cat to Chen Ge. In any case, now that you're its owner, you have to be responsible. There are plenty of small wounds on its body. Remember to check them daily for infections. After paying, Chen Ge returned to New Century Park with the cat and kittens. This will be your home in the future. Chen Ge only opened the gate when the originally sedated suddenly perked its ears up. Such a reaction before even entering the haunted house, this cat might really be useful to me. Chen Ge placed the white cat at the door and walked into the haunted house with the basket of kittens. The cat howled for a long time before following unwillingly. Chen Ge wanted to give this cat a try, so he led it around several scenarios. The white cat acted normally inside the Minghan, Murder by Midnight, and Night of the Living Dead scenarios. However, when Chen Ge pulled the wooden boards back to enter the Muyang High School scenario, the fur on the white cat stood on end as it jumped on the steps leading downwards to block Chen Ge. Muyang High School's mission hasn't been completed yet. It might still hide more secrets. Chen Ge had no idea what the white cat had sensed, but the fact that it had blocked him meant that Chen Ge was not wrong to have saved it. Closing the board, Chen Ge went over to hug the cat, but the cat jumped away. It seemed to despise human contact. Carrying the basket, Chen Ge returned to the staff break room, and the white cat followed. It was not until Chen Ge closed the door that it calmed down. The white cat jumped onto the chair and spotted Xiao Xiao, who was hiding underneath the table. Such a mischievous thing, you. Chen Ge pulled Xiao Xiao out from underneath the table. He waved Xiao Xiao before the cat, saying, "This is our friend, so don't hurt her." The white cat did not react in any way. Perhaps it was because the enemy was too weak, so it was not even interested. At the very least Xiao Xiao is a baleful specter, but she was ignored so completely by the cat. Chen Ge rubbed Xiao Xiao's head, feeling weirdly sorry for her. Chapter 130, Welcome to Muyang High School. Translator. Lonely Tree Editor. Milman 97. Chen Ge placed Xiao Xiao on the table. This naughty ragdoll who always tried to sneak out was surprisingly well behaved. Chen Ge could sense fear from her. Xiao Xiao had not shown that emotion when facing the mirror monster. Is the cat too special or Xiao Xiao too weak? Curled up on the chair, the white car looked at the 4 kittens in the basket. It did not seem to be concerned about anything else. Since I've decided to adopt it, I should give it a name. I can't call it White Cat forever. This was the first time in his life that Chen Ge had adopted a pet. He sat down on the floor and studied the white cat. We met at night in the middle of a rain, so how about I call you Night Rain? The cat did not move, but Chen Ge could sense its displeasure. Well, if you don't like such a pretentious name, how about Fortune? You know, for good luck. The white cat turned its head away like it did not want to have Chen Ge in its view. Still don't like it? You're completely white, so how about snow? Milky. Rice. Perhaps because Chen Ge was physically too close, giving off a threatening aura to the cat, it gnashed its teeth. Its whiskers flickered, and the wound on its face started to bleed again. Christ, you sure are wild. Other people's cats were all cute and cuddly, but this one was as wild as a tiger. Chen Ge looked at the scary wound on the cat's face, and he moved cautiously backwards. You're not one bit like a cat, more like a tiger. How about I just call you White Tiger? Chen Ge then realized how weird it was to call a cat the name of a different animal. He was about to change it when the white cat on the chair suddenly stood up. With its ears perked up, it jumped down from the chair and clawed at the breakroom's door madly. Ads by PubFuture. What's going on? The cat was acting strangely. It seemed desperate to leave. Chen Ge noticed this and quickly opened the door. It didn't even act like this when we were in Muyang High School. It must have sensed something. After the cat exited the room, it headed right for the first-floor bathroom. Its claw leaving a deep scar on the wooden door. First-floor bathroom. Chen Ge's heart skipped a beat. He glanced at the time. It was midnight. The mirror. He rushed in behind the cat and pulled the black cloth off. Inside the mirror, the red door had appeared punctually, but this time, there was some notable difference. Blood-red liquid seeped out from the sides, and the door in the mirror shook every few seconds like someone was pushing it from the other side. Chen Ge did not dare act too rashly. He turned back to look at the door in the real world. The door in the real world and the mirror shook at the same time. At midnight every night, this normal-looking door seemed to become the link between the two worlds. There's someone behind the door. Chen Ge grabbed the nearby mop nervously as his eyes focused on the dancing lock. He was relieved that he had remembered to lock the door last time or else the thing would have entered the haunted house already. The force of the shaking grew. The only thing Chen Ge could do then was wait for 1 minute to be over. He did not want to provoke the monster behind the door, and he had no interest in knowing what it was. He just wanted to manage his haunted house in peace. The door lock wiggled violently. It felt like it would not hold on for long. Chen Ge gripped the mop tightly, preparing for war. The white cat lowered its head and arched its back, ready to pounce. Nothing scary happened. 1 minute later, the bloody door in the mirror disappeared, and the door in real life returned to normal. Everything's fine now. Both Chen Ge and the white cat sighed in relief. Interestingly enough, the white cat seemed to glare unsatisfactorily at Chen Ge as if it was saying, I've been here less than an hour, and you have given me 2 scares already. Is this any place for a cat to live? You dare to glare at me? Chen Ge was about to hug the cat when it jumped out from his arms and rushed back to the staff break room. Didn't even allow me to touch. Such a cold-hearted cat. Chen Ge stood in the bathroom alone. He found the key and opened the cubicle door to peer in. The door on the other side showed signs of being rammed into, and the lock had become loose. Looks like I'll need to find a sturdier door. Chen Ge considered breaking the door directly, but he was afraid that even after he broke down everything, the door would still remain. Ads by PubFuture. When the door appeared for the first time, there was nothing wrong. When it appeared for the second time, there were weird noises coming from behind the door like a body being dragged. This is the third time, and someone was trying to burst through the door. Chen Ge placed the black cloth over the mirror. He looked at the covered mirror and commented internally, "My parents once said that the door of the third sick hall has been opened again. Could the door they mentioned be similar to the door in this bathroom? Has the third sick hall become a lair for these monsters?" No one could answer Chen Ge's question, and he could only rely on himself. Chen Ge went to the props room to grab some wooden boards to increase the door's stability. When he was done, it was already 1 a.m. "I need to go to sleep because I need to go get the mannequins early tomorrow morning." He grabbed a quilt to place beside the white cat while he climbed into bed to sleep. Chen Ge was woken up by the alarm at 7 a.m. The white cat woke up alongside him. The white cat was on high alert. The smallest commotion would cause it to tense up. "It's time to work." Chen Ge called Uncle Shu to borrow the park's lorry to haul the mannequin's body from the workshop. The white cat guarded the basket. Chen Ge could not get near the 4 dead kittens, so he left them be for now. After 2 trips, Chen Ge finally brought all the mannequin bodies back to the haunted house. The corridor was filled with headless bodies. Uncle Shu only took a glance at it before escaping with a random excuse. "Are they that scary?" Chen Ge pulled open the wooden boards. He marked the heads and the bodies before screwing them together. Then he moved them into Muyang High School scenario. After placing them in the sealed classroom, Chen Ge put the clothes on the mannequins one by one. When he put the clothes on the last mannequin, he felt the black phone vibrate. Completed 2-star scenario Muyang High School's hidden missions, finished building the bodies for the 24 spirits in the sealed classroom. Congratulations for obtaining the mission rewards, the returners, goodwill. You can now give them simple instructions through the phone. Warning. Once the lingering spirit leaves the scenario, they will go berserk. Please be careful. All the hidden missions in Muyang High School had been completed. The 2-star scenario could be officially opened. Should I call He-san to give him a free go? The child might say he doesn't like it, but I think that he's enjoyed himself every time.